So this first part in the video, I'm just going over a JavaScript course because before diving into React, I really want to refresh my skills. It's been a long time since I actually did anything in JavaScript, so just doing one of these courses feels really good. You start from the basics, build your way up. There's a lot of things that you can forget in a programming language, so I felt this was really important. The Udemy courses are also really good. As you go through all the modules, there's little challenges that they get you to do. There's little assignments. Sometimes you go into them really confident and then you get stuck on the silliest little thing. So yeah, I found objects in JavaScript really awesome because you can just put in whatever you want. So an object can have strings, numbers, booleans. You can have array list functions. You don't have to declare any data types. You just put them in there. So that's great. All the data types in JavaScript are stored in the variable, like the value. So if you have a number inside of quotations, it's going to be a string. If you just have a number outside of quotations, it's going to be a number. So at this point in the course, they're focusing mostly on the JavaScript. They're not really focusing on any of the HTML or CSS, so that's already done for most of the projects. But nothing works, so you have to go in there and actually program the game to work properly. And they go through step by step. So first they get you to get a couple things working, and then they'll have another challenge where you get like something like the high score working. And then after everything works, then they get you to go back through the code and refactor it. So just getting everything to be cleaner code. Right here, do not repeat yourself. Keeping it dry, so you're not writing the same code over and over again, where you can have just like a condition where variables will change. Using functions wherever you can. Like in this game, you had to change messages 3 or 4 times, where you can just have one function that displays the message that you want. So inside that function, you can say, if your score is more than 0, then you win. But if it's hits 0, then you lose. At this point in the JavaScript course, I started feeling like, okay, this is getting easy. Got a good idea of what's going on, so I think it's basically time to jump into React. But like right away, starting React, I realized it is a lot different. It's not just JavaScript. So there definitely is a point at the beginning where I was a little bit, I guess, overwhelmed. Just the way how everything's in separate components. So you have your main app, JavaScript, but then if you want to put a component like your output, you would create a folder called output, and then inside that folder you would have a JavaScript output file. You'd have a CSS file called output. So basically, in your component, you have individual files that overall create the one component. yeah, right away at the beginning. The instructor was going through it so fast, and it was really hard to keep up with them. So I almost thought like, okay, do I have to jump back to the JavaScript course? But I ended up just, following through a couple modules, and he was easier to pick up. I had some errors, which ended up being my typing errors, not errors with Visual Studio's code, which I might have thought. When some things just aren't working, you right away want to blame the environment I'm in, or maybe the code is changed in a new version. But no, this is definitely typos on my part. Later in this course, he does mention that we're going to be using hooks a lot more, which, as far as I understand, is a more modern approach than using state. When I first started, the first hooks example, couldn't get it to work, couldn't figure it out. If you pay attention to the time bar at the bottom, probably spent 45 minutes trying to figure it out. I started going through comments. A lot of people had the same problems, or a problem on the same lecture, and they were definitely saying that I might need a newer version, might have to update it. The JSON file, you might have to change this or that inside the JSON file. And then I remembered a friend of mine, he had done the same course, so I went to him and I asked him, and he took a look at my code. Took him 30 seconds to point out that I was using state somewhere where I shouldn't have been using state. I should have had person state, not this dot state, which, your first time running through the code, you might not notice. But as soon as he said it, I was like, oh, of course. So of course I had him on the phone. I kind of went over the project I'm working on right now. Yeah, after that, I decided to move on. I'll constantly have a lot of things going on, but on the left here on that screen, I usually have the live stream of what I'm working on, and also my notes plus. Just any code that I find that I might want to go over later, I copy and paste over there. Any assignments I do, I paste over there. At the same time, I'm taking notes on Word. The notes are more for the blog at the end. Just things I want to remember, because once you go through one of these courses, you don't remember everything. This first assignment, as soon as you start reading it, like the assignments in this course are, you get 10 commands, you got to do all these steps. In the JavaScript course, the instructor would talk you through what he wants. So the difference between him talking you through and the issues you might come into, to this course where it's just like, here's 10 things to do, start doing it, I find it really unclear. So I first attempted it, found it really tough. Because I get through one step, and the next step, it kind of contradicts what I was already trying. So I found it better to read over the assignment. Then I would open up his solution and then follow through on the solution step by step. So I'd make sure I did solution 1 right, and then I would try step 2, check if solution 2 is right. So I would go through it slowly. one night after doing one of the modules, I decided, and instead of going ahead in the course, I'm just going to try some things. So tried some random things, and by doing that, I kind of figured out what each part of code was doing. I found that really important. It's kind of like practice is the only way to get better, and so practicing on my own, not following along with the instructor here, is the best way to learn some more things. And to, I guess, really understand the code that you're writing. Yes, when it came to assignment 2, I really like that you start new projects inside the terminal. You just type in what you want, hit enter, it creates all your file structure and everything, but here I forgot to do the scripts version at the end. So it still created the file in the project, but nothing worked. So I couldn't get the npm to start. Took me a little bit of looking at the errors to realize, okay, I just have to delete that file and put it in again. I think this is the second project I had started, so I think I'll know in the future not to do that again. But yeah, the next module I'm going into is more of the styling and getting everything to look pretty, because up to this point it's been all functionality, so kind of excited to get going on that. I'll let you guys know how it goes.